It is week 13 of my Summer with Lisa Kleypas challenge, and this week we are doing the second book in the Ravenels series, Marrying Winterborne. Hi, my name's Bea. Welcome to my channel. Mama needs to read romance because nobody in this book is going to leave their half-eaten yogurt in the back of the van on a 90-degree day. In my last vlog, we finished up with Cold-Hearted Rake, which, let's face it, was not the best ending in the world, especially for our man Rhys here. He turned out to be quite the villain, pushing himself on Helen, being really mean, saying that he felt like she was too good for him, and then saying he was done with her. She could keep the ring because, you know, as compensation for time wasted, and then she could take that orchid back that she gave him. And Helen thought she'd feel good about it, but she didn't. There were connections made that she felt really good about when she played piano and he knew the song and he described it to her. There were moments they had that were magical when she was nursing him back to health after his train crash, and there was a world she felt like he might have been opening for her. And thanks to Kathleen going and talking to Rhys, it all comes crashing down. Helen said she was done with him, but she realized when she saw that orchid and how well he had taken care of it, she was wrong. There was something else that he wasn't letting her fully in about. There's a broken part of him that maybe she can fix. And maybe there are parts of her that he can fix as well. Well, what do you know? Here we are with Marrying Winterborne. Is he going to redeem himself? Is he going to be good enough for poor sheltered Helen? We will see. Winterborne, just to reiterate, in case you don't remember Cold-Hearted Rake, Rhys Winterborne is a butcher's son. He came from nothing, and he's used to being on the outside of the upper peerage. He's hoping that marrying a woman within high society, who I guess is Helen, even though she spent all of her life in the country secluded from everyone, is going to help open doors for him that weren't open before. And Devin, who sort of took care of her after her brother was killed, Devin wants this to happen. He wanted to set Helen up with Rhys. So Kathleen didn't want that to happen. And now Kathleen and Devin have their happy ending as from Cold-Hearted Rake. But what about Helen? What's going to happen to her? Is she going to just be a spinster? She doesn't feel like she's getting the free, after she realizes things are cut off with Rhys, that their engagement is no more. The freedom she thought she'd feel, the relief that she thought that she would experience is not there. And she knows that she has to set things right with him. Nobody could have kept that orchid alive other than her. Apparently Rhys could. And we're going to assume that he didn't just use one of the many people on his staff to help keep that orchid alive. We're gonna hope not. It was Rhys. I'm sure it was him. But yeah, we are gonna enjoy this book because this is Rhys's redemption story. And hopefully it's gonna be better than Cold-Hearted Rake. I said in my last video that I gave that book 4 stars. Upon further reflection, I'm gonna go with 3.5 because I don't know that I would ever say it's as good as a lot of the 4-star ratings I've given to some of the Hathaway's books and some of the Wallflowers books. It's probably pretty low on my list. But Marrying Winterborne, let's see how this one fares. Mary Jane Wells is narrating again, so if you are listening to this book or you've listened to it in the past, you know how insanely amazing she is. She's so good, and that Welsh accent, I wouldn't even know what a Welsh accent sounded like if it weren't for Mary Jane Wells. So I'm very grateful to her for that. Also, I'd be remiss if we didn't move on before I shared with you the lovely step back. We've got Helen in her wedding dress, and there is Rhys, the Welsh rogue. Sorry for the glare. Oh, these glassies, I tell you. But it's beautiful, and I can only assume the large building in the background is Winterborne's. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But we all know that Winterborne's is like Macy's on steroids. It's an incredible place. It's huge. People go there to shop. It's an experience. And he has brought himself up from nothing. I should probably continue to show him while I'm talking about him. Without the glare. So we are going to experience all the joys and all the sorrows that is Marrying Winterborne. I'm going to be reading it throughout the week. I'm going to be decorating for September too, which you don't know this about me because I've only ever had my YouTube channel during this past summer, but I am a nut for September decorations. I love all things apples. I know that's weird, but you know, you might as well know how weird I am. So I'll be decorating too in my vlog towards the end. And yeah, I think this is going to be great. I'm going to be doing spoilers after this. I will tell you right now, I know what the song is that I want for their love theme, and it's actually one that I would consider to be Helen's song to Rhys, which is Sarah Brightman's song Deliver Me, because he opens a whole new world for her, and it's exciting, and I love the song. It's an epic sounding song, and it's beautiful, and it's kind of an older one. It's like at least 20 years old, which is old, I guess, right? Anyway, at the end of this, I'm going to share my rating, and I want to know what you guys think too, so let me know. But after this, we're going to talk about it each section and their spoilers, so let's do it. This book is completely insane. I don't even know where to begin. Okay, so it's chapters 1 through 4. Helen goes to Winterborne's. He is certain that she just wants money. She's explaining that she doesn't. She wants to marry him. He says, okay, because he thinks about how beautiful she is once she takes off her mourning veil. He is so enthralled by her, but he just feels like she's so out of his league. He has no idea how to even make love to a woman. He does something else. I'm not going to say. He calls it something else. And he is just, what he says, she was like, well, let's go elope. But he's like, no, if we're going to get married, we're getting married in a church. So what he then says is, well, we need to be intimate, because then if I ruin you, Devon's going to make you marry me. That's the only insurance that I want. We're not going to elope, but we're going to make love. Hopefully is what we'll call that. And she is taken aback. And then she decides, you know what? I'm going to go through with this because I really want him. I think he's going to really get me more than other men. It's going to be an adventure being with him. But she starts to stand up for herself and says, I want a different ring. So he gets Mrs. Fernsby, his secretary. This shows the beginning of how innovative he is. He has a female secretary, even though everybody encouraged him not to. He wound up picking Mrs. Fernsby, who was a widow. She was down on her luck, very outspoken. She was working elsewhere in his place of business, and she got thrown out for back talking, and he found out about her and he thought she's perfect. So he hired him as his personal secretary. And she comes up to him and says, look, Helen is a sweet, innocent girl. And if you ruin her, you better redeem it. And he goes, I'm going to. So anyway, the head jeweler comes and offers her pick of rings, and she picks a moonstone, and Rhys is so furious because he's like, oh, this is like the least expensive thing on the tray. Why would you pick this? And she's like, it's what I want. And they talk about how there's no ledgers or balances in marriage. And I think he's going to learn a lot from her. And she's going to learn a lot from him. But it's funny, he's talking about himself surrendering to her, which is so interesting because I feel like she's doing a lot of surrendering to him right now. But I think in spirit, he's very much surrendering to her as well. So yeah, as we finish up this chapter, she's picked out her ring. Here's what's really cool. And the one part of this that I felt was actually sort of romantic. He says, when he tries to give her the ring the second time to propose, he says that he thinks of the word hirath, which I probably didn't pronounce correctly, when he thinks of her, which is a feeling of longing that a Welshman has all his life because he's never fully whole. But he says he doesn't feel that when he's with Helen because being around her is the only time he's ever felt whole in his life. And he means it. And that's very profound and very sweet. And I wonder how sweet and profound chapter 5 is going to be. It's going to be insane because he's about to steal her virtue. So she has to marry him. What is this book? I don't know. Okay. Can we agree right now that the love scene between Winterborne and Helen is the most awkward love scene ever written by Lisa Kleypas? Chapter 5 was so long, and it was mostly Helen losing her virginity to Rhys. It was terribly awkward. He's like explaining what's going on as he's doing it. She's kind of squeamish. I mean, he does pleasure her twice. He is twice her size. He's so knowledgeable. She knows absolutely nothing. I just felt like I was cringing throughout the entire love scene. I was so glad when it was over, and it wasn't like a couple times, like he rips off one of her stockings and throws it in the fire, and she's upset because it's one of her possessions, and he says, well, I will take better care of your possessions from now on. And then he rips her camise in half and then uses it to wipe between her legs afterwards. It's like so annoying and upsetting, and come on. And Thankfully, he treats her very well afterwards. He gets her a bath. He's doting on her. He's getting her everything she could possibly want from his store, like soaps and oils and all of this, and gets her new stockings that are arranged like bonbons, apparently. And overall, she's excited. Like, their carriage ride back to her house was very sweet. She's sitting in his lap and she's kissing him, and she feels really good about things. So I'm happy for her. But still, I could have done without that. He was actually trying to strong arm her into eloping after they were intimate, because he's watching her sleep and he's realizing he can't let her go now. He needs her to be with him every moment of the day, basically from here on out. And she says, no, we need a 5-month waiting period because of the mourning period, and then we can get married. And he's like, no, there's no way I can go 5 months without you know what. And she's like, well, what were you going to do? You agreed to 5 months when we got engaged the first time. He's like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. Maybe I would have met other women. And he said, well, now that he's so into Helen, he couldn't do that. So anyway, I think he's telling her she has 6 weeks because he's still bossing her around. Rhys and Severin have lunch together, and they talk about what a fine pair of friends they are to Devon, because while Rhys is going to marry and has defiled his Devon's cousin, Tom Severin tried to swindle Devon out of like £500,000 worth of hematite ore and they just seem like such a great group of friends. Then they're walking into an area where Severin is hoping Rhys is going to be willing to put up money to create actually nice housing for a lot of the people that are hardworking in London. And Rhys thinks that's a great idea. So they go to see some of the work, and as the building is about to fall, Rhys throws himself in the path of a little boy he would have been crushed by the building. And Rhys, his shoulder is dislocated. He's very badly injured. Just, last book he's in a train crash. Now he's got buildings falling on him. But Dr. Garrett Gibson, I could not be more excited. She's my favorite from book 4, Hello Stranger. She goes to his aid. So Rhys actually offers to hire Dr. Gibson. He wants to interview her and take her on because she's going to have to close her practice because nobody feels like women can be doctors. And I just love, again, Rhys shows this kind of ingenuity of this willingness to hire women and think outside the box because he's not in the upper peerage. He has nothing to lose. And I think his innovative and different types of thinking have really helped him in business. So that's where we leave chapter 8. Yeah, wow. Just glad to be through chapter 5. That's all I gotta say. Okay, I can make this segment a little bit short because there's not as much going on in the book. There's a lot of lovemaking between Rhys and Helen. He comes back to Hampshire after Kathleen's father passes away, so Devon asks Rhys to come out and bring every salted almond he can find because Kathleen's got some cravings. Here's where it gets insane. Helen knows that the man that she believed was her father is not actually her father. Lord Trenia was not her father. It was a man named Abion Vance. And her mother, Helen's mother, was just the worst. Helen found a letter from a long time ago written by her mother to Abion saying, I'll get rid of this baby. We don't have to worry about it. She had an affair with this guy. And Lord Trenia, Helen's supposed father, never forgave Helen. And Helen's mother treated her badly too because she feels like Abion and she could have gotten together in the end if he wasn't unhappy about the baby. So poor Helen. I mean, she had some inkling when her father was passing away a few years ago, and he's like, you aren't my daughter. Oh, it's just awful. So Helen, it gets much worse though, because apparently Abion Vance is arch enemies with Rhys. No, Rhys hates him. Abion has major things against the Welsh, and apparently there's some sort of a personal vendetta as well. So, Rhys tells her, apparently Abion was also with a bunch of other women, including a good friend of Rhys's. And when Abion got this other woman pregnant, he left her in a lurch. The woman winds up dying. The man who was going to marry her also kills himself because he was so upset. And these were 2 good friends of Rhys's. There's a daughter though that's left, 4-year-old, And Helen says, well, what happened to her? And Rhys is like, I don't know, I think she's in an orphanage somewhere. I don't care because she's the daughter of Abion Vance. And Helen's like, oh, I'm also the daughter of Abion Vance. What were the chances, right? It's a little bit like a soap opera. Yeah, so crazy. So as I'm filming this, it's September 1st, and it is time for the apple stuff to come out in my house. I love fall so much, and I love decorating with apples in September. So you're gonna see more and more of that as time goes on. I even got my watch switched over to like apple colors. But yeah, let's talk about chapters 22 to 24. I have 2 words for you: Lady Barrack. And also Mary Jane Wells, the narrator as Lady Barrack, is hilarious. She is so awful to West and Pandora and Cassandra specifically because those 3 are feral and she can't stand it. She's all about good manners and they drive her insane, and it's mutual. Lady Barrack is aware that Helen is the daughter of Vance, who also happens to be the heir to Lady Barrack's fortune after her husband passes. And Vance secures a meeting with Helen because he wants her to get Winterborne to give money to him through a charity, but he's going to take all the money. He is the worst. And Helen leverages this for information about the 4-year-old half-sister that she only knew about just recently. And he didn't want to tell her. And she's like, well, if you want any money, you're going to have to tell me. So, but Helen is determined, even though she and Winterborne continue to have very lovely love-making scenes, she's not thinking that they're ever going to end up together because she knows how much he hates Vance and the fact that she's Vance's daughter. So it is very upsetting to her. They all head back to London, and she gets to spend time in Winterborne's shop. I love Winterborne's shop and all the amazing things that are in it. It's just such a grand palace, as they refer to it. I don't think there's a whole lot else to say, honestly. It's a lot of beautiful longing between Winterborne and Helen. They really have let their barriers down with one another, and it's really quite beautiful. He's shown his soft underbelly. She absolutely is his weakness. I love seeing the 2 of them together, and I'm dreading for Helen to tell him about her relationship with Vance. And I'm hoping she's not going to give Vance that money, but she obviously wants to take care of her half-sister. So this is going to be very interesting, and I honestly don't remember from having read it years ago what happens.
Ready?
Oh, he fell down. He's okay. Caterpillar.
Caterpillar. Mommy.
Yes.
Mommy. Caterpillar. My. I got him. I got him.
So we're at chapters 25 through 29. They're in Winterborne's, and Helen has a terrible migraine. She's so worried about everything going on. Winterborne takes her up to the top of Winterborne's, and she discovers he's created a giant glass house for her orchids, and she feels so sad because she knows that she's never actually going to put orchids in there because once he finds out the secret, he's not going to marry her. She also meets Dr. Garrett Gibson, which is really cool, and that actually turns out to be really helpful later because Helen gets a letter and finds out where her half-sister is. Unfortunately, she's now at an orphanage in a really bad part of town, and Dr. Gibson helps Helen go there. Now, what's interesting is this is where we meet Ethan Ransom. Now, you can see that I've got Hello Stranger behind me. That is Dr. Gibson back there, and it's her book with Ethan Ransom. I make no secret of the fact that it's probably my favorite book of the whole series. I love it so much. And I love that we just get to meet Ethan as he helps the 2 of them beat off some thugs at the bad side of town. But you realize he's been tailing them. We don't know why. Also, earlier in the chapters, Winterborne is asking Helen what's been going on, and he's somehow aware that something else is going on. But she's not saying what, and he knows she's keeping things from him. So it's like, how does he know that? So the biggest part, there is some beautiful lovemaking in the, I guess, top of Winterborne. So I'm trying to remember where it was. So that was interesting. But the biggest part of this segment is when Helen goes to the orphanage with Garrett Gibson's help and collects Charity from the orphanage to live with her. Charity is the name of her half-sister, by the way. Charity Wednesday, because she was delivered to the orphanage on a Wednesday. But Lady Berwick is losing her mind over the fact that Charity is now there. And she says, are you going to gather all of his illegitimate children? And heaven knows how many there are. Isn't that terrible? But Helen said she's going to go live somewhere on her own just with Charity because they look so much alike. Everyone will just assume that Helen's a ruined woman and no one will ever be with her now. So basically Helen has resigned herself to not only not ever be with Rhys, but never to be with anyone else so she can protect Charity. So it's sad. And she doesn't even want to stay at Eversby Priory because she feels like it'll ruin the marriage prospects for Cassandra and Pandora. So Helen is just so insanely selfless. And we only have one segment left of the book. So looking forward to a happy ending because, man, Helen so deserves it. She's so dear. But we're going to have a reckoning, as Rhys says. Oh, I just finished the book. Oh, what a great ending. Oh my gosh. I teared up so many times. Helen treats little Charity so well. But the next morning, after Charity has her little sponge bath because she's afraid of actual baths, Cassandra and Pandora have taken good care of, but she spent the night in bed with Helen. A note came from Lady Berwick saying, get Chastity ready because I told Albie and Vance to come and collect his daughter. She's no longer your problem and you'll thank me later. Helen gets the twins to act as a diversion so she can escape with Charity. She goes to the train station. She's encouraged by one of the train staff to wait in a separate room, and then she realizes outside the door is the same man who was tailing her and Dr. Gibson when they went to the orphanage. She realized that this is the lackey, Ethan Ransom, for Rhys Winterborne, and she panics. She is so mad at herself and at the situation, and she's terrified that they're going to take Charity away from her. Rhys comes in after she realizes that because Ethan has locked the door now, they've missed their train, and she just feels like the world is crashing around her. Rhys comes in and he's furious. Apparently, because of the business dealings that Tom Severn was trying to get Rhys into with Albie and Vance, Rhys decided to have Vance tailed to see what this guy was up to. While he was being tailed by Ethan Ransom, he discovered that not once but twice, Vance went to have a meeting with Helen. And of course, Rhys gave Helen opportunities to tell him what was going on, and Helen said nothing. So now Rhys is furious and he wants to know. So Helen finally confesses everything. And at that point, it just becomes so romantic because, Helen is certain that Rhys is going to just cast her aside because she's Albie and Vance's daughter. And he said that it couldn't be further from the truth. And of course, he'll also love Chastity, Charity, who they decide to rename Caris, which is a Welsh name. And it's just so lovely and beautiful that the way that he loves her, and he tells her that, I was lonely before I met you because I was missing half of my soul. I mean, it's just his love is so unconditional. I mean, he's kind of angry when he says it, and he also grabs her by the back of the neck to pull her into another room to talk, which I found really awful. But he said, you try to leave. You just try. You try to leave me and you see how quickly I will come to you, which is sort of sweet, I guess. But the rest of it was really, really sweet. And then he moves heaven and earth to make their quick wedding happen because he just can't wait anymore. And we then fast forward to the epilogue. Caris is happy and Kathleen's just had her baby. Pandora's got a board game that's going to come out, and Helen tells Rhys that she is almost certainly expecting, which Dr. Gibson's going to confirm later. Such a beautiful ending. I loved it so much. Because Rhys is a little more rough and gruff than I like in my heroes, I couldn't give this a full 5 stars, but I am going to say 4.5 stars for this book. And just to reiterate, in case you may have missed it earlier in my long-winded video, the song I feel is the perfect song that Helen might feel about Rhys. Deliver Me by Sarah Brightman. It's an epic song, it's beautiful, and he shows her a whole new world, which I felt like this song was really good for that. So that was my video. I could not be more excited about Devil in Spring next week. That is Pandora's book. with Gabriel, Lord St. Vincent. Oh, it's gonna be great. Join me, won't you? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is that you are reading. And until next time, thank you so much. Take care. Bye.